Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about different ways of creating textures and brilliant background effects on our journal pages or tags and ephemera using regular household items that we can easily find around us. So let's begin the video, and I have this paper in front of me with all the things and all the ideas that I am going to do in this video. And I wrote it down like this so that it is easier for me to remember. And also, if you would like to maybe take a screenshot or a photo so that you can put all your ideas at one place. So let's begin creating all the different textures one by one, and I'll walk you through the different ideas that I have. So the first one is using eggshells. Now this is the tag or ephemera, or something to put in a pocket, something cute and special that I made using eggshells. And I'll show you how and what I did. So the first thing that we need to talk about is what are the different things you'll need to get a texture like this. This is, that this will be perfect for like a sandy texture if you're maybe creating a sandy beach illusion in your journal. This effect would be awesome. And for people who do mixed media arts, this would be a great addition for them. So what you'll need something sturdy. Now I used a piece of regular cardstock. It's not very firm, it's not very hard, but it's obviously thicker than your regular paper. Obviously eggshells are going to be heavier, so you'll need some paper that will hold the weight of the eggshells. Now what I did is I just washed the eggshells really well using dish soap, and then dried them completely and then ground them into this fine powder. The next thing you'll need is glue. For this I used regular white PVA glue, but of course you can use whatever you have on hand, like Mod Podge or any kind of matte or gel medium that you have. I think that will work as well. So for this project, what I did was I just took a mixture of glue and water, about 2 parts glue and 1 part water. And what you'll do is you'll simply take your piece of cardstock or whatever it is that you're giving texture to, and you'll simply brush the glue onto it like this. When the card gets wet, it'll probably curl. As you can see, it'll bend slightly, but that's all right. It'll be okay when it dries. And you just take a little pinch of your powdered eggshells and you sprinkle over the glue. Try not to make it too thick, as it'll give a fine layer, but if you need a thick layer, you'll have to do a second application, a second layer. So this is how it looks. It is still wet, and we'll just put this away to dry. What I did was, after it was dried, I just used some acrylic chalk paints. something like this. You could use regular acrylic paints as well, or maybe even watercolors like this, any paint that you have. And I just used a brown color here. I used a regular brush, and I just went over the whole thing after it was dried, and then I put it away for drying again. And once it was completely dry, I used a metallic wax. This is a beeswax formulation in antique gold, and I just uh, used my finger to sort of rub the gold over the raised particles and the raised surfaces. I hope you're able to catch the gold in it. I think this is a beautiful way of bringing out, some sort of interesting texture to our journals and our craft projects. Whenever we talk about texture, we usually say texture paste, or you know sculpting paste, and or maybe using decoupage napkins, and those are all great ideas, but this is something unique and also uses things that you have lying around you and are easily available. So let's move on to our next idea, which is using walnut or pistachio shells. What I did was I washed the pistachio shells, dried them, and then ground them like this. So this is not a fine powder, they are like a fine grit, you can say. These are great for depicting stones and terrain like structure and terrain like feel on your journal pages. And this is what I made using pistachio shells. You can of course use walnut shells also. And how I did this is, you simply take a piece of cardstock. Again, this is heavy in weight, so you can't really use it on really flimsy thin paper. Maybe if you have a thick book paper like a book page, or a thin cardstock, it'll be good to create textures on that. So because you need the paper to hold the weight of the pistachio shells, also they are going to be pointed and sharp, so you'll need something that will not tear easily. So you just take your piece, whatever you want to add the texture to, and you just repeat the process as before. You take your glue and water mixture, and you apply a thick coat on your piece, and you just sprinkle the pistachio shell pieces over it. You could even do this without the glue and water mixture, just using glue directly. This is the look you'll get. After this, what I did is, just to hold the pistachio pieces together and to help them stick onto the card better, what I did was I just took a decoupage napkin, or any napkin for that matter, and you just take the back of the napkin, the layers that we remove in a 2-ply 3-ply napkin, and we sort of do away with it, and we are not going to use it, but it's useful here. So what you do is, you simply lay your piece down over the pistachio shells, and you go over them with the glue again. The napkin is just to add a bit more texture and also to help the pistachio shell pieces to stick to the card better. So they'll sort of, it's like an additional layer over the shells so they don't fall off easily. And it's all right if the napkin tears or anything. And this is how it looks. It's still of course wet, so we'll just put this away to dry. When it's all dried, I just took my black chalk paint, acrylic chalk paint in charcoal shade, and then just went over the whole thing and used my silver glitz metallic wax and just went over it lightly with my finger. I think this will be great even for creating like a spooky or maybe Halloween themed journals or pages. I just really like the cool effect. The next idea in our list is using tea or coffee powder, that is tea leaves. This is what I made using used tea from tea bags. You just open a tea bag, cut it open from here and get the tea out, right? And you have yourself a powder, tea powder like this. Of course it's got mixed up with the eggshells and pistachios now, but you do the same process. You take your piece, you apply the glue. Here again, a glue and water mixture is just fine. You don't need the glue directly, and you just sprinkle the tea powder over it. The effect is similar to using uh, your fine sand or the eggshell thing that we just did. The effect is similar. Maybe you could play around with this having a darker color, and the eggshells having a white color, so maybe that will have that will make a difference in how you use it. And then you just put this away to dry. For my piece, I just used a sort of beige chalk paint. Now this is called driftwood acrylic chalk paint. I just used that shade and then went over it with my glimmer moss metallic wax. I think it's really cool. It gives a cool effect. And if you're doing this in like small sections, you could depict and imitate a tree or a forest, and that would look cool. This would look really nice in like a nature journal or a botanical journal. This was another one that I did using both pistachio shells, the bigger pieces that you see, along with the egg shells. The next idea in our list is using threads or fibers. You could, of course, also use dried and powdered leaves and flowers. I didn't have any at hand, but you could, of course, use that as well. Now, what I mean by that is doing this. What I've done here is I have used different threads and fibers and used that to give this veins and this uh, leather like texture. And to do that, you could just take your piece. Again, what you'll need is uh, some sort of surface. Now this you can do definitely on like your regular paper, copy paper, A4 size that we use. You can do the on that as well. For this, again, you just take your glue and water mixture and you use any kind of thread and fibers that you have collected. Now what I do usually is whenever I'm using some kind of a fabric and it sort of frays at the end, then I keep these threads. I don't throw them. Then even at the end of sewing a signature, you have these ends of threads. So I keep them all and then I can use them here. So you just lay these pieces down on the glue. After you've done that, you just take your napkin sheet, the backing of the napkin, you lay that over your threads and fibers. If you're using powdered leaves, dried and powdered leaves and flowers, you could add that as well before you add your napkin sheet. And it's all right if the napkin crinkles and gets some wrinkles. It's fine because that'll only add to the texture. So this is how it looks, and when it gets dry, this is how it becomes. Now over this, I've just gone over with my metallic wax copper blaze. Just with my finger, I've just touched upon the raised edges. Now instead of the napkin backing that we used, we could use uh, the tea bag that we had emptied, like this. So it's very simple. You just have to pull it open. So you can use this instead as well, like this. Now without any threads and fibers or any other added material, even just using tea bags is an excellent idea. That in itself makes the piece look vintage and old. I think I saw Natasha from Treasure Books use a tea bag over magazine images to turn glossy images into vintage, and that is a fabulous idea as well. The next idea on our list is stamping on fabric. Now this is nothing new. I think most of us have done this at some point or the other. I have tea stained this fabric, but even otherwise, just plain white or cream, it would look still good. And then I just used simple glue and water mixture and then glued it, let it dry, and then stamped it using regular rubber stamps. I just tried it over a book page, but you could of course do it on whatever whatever you want to give texture to. And I think this would look good on slightly thicker paper, not very flimsy, but not necessarily cardstock as well, but just slightly firmer, thicker paper would work well with this. The next idea on our list is using salt with ink or watercolor. You get something of an effect like this. I hope you're able to see the sort of bubble like effect that you get. It also depends on the kind of paper you use and the kind of salt you're using. Now, what I'm using here is this pink. I'm not sure if you're able to catch the color, but it's not completely white. This is pink rock salt, but you can of course use regular table salt. I think table salt gives much better patterns like snowflake texture or something, but I like the bubble kind of effect that we get using rock salt. Now I have done this on different kinds of papers just to compare how the effect looks. This here is on regular A4 size copy paper, and I think it looks nice here. I've just done here a patch without the salt, and this is with the salt, just so you can see and compare the effect. And then down here I tried using the same technique with my acrylic paints, but the salt did not react at all, so I don't think that works with acrylic paints. But I think it works really well with your inks, different kinds of inks and watercolors. What I did was I tried it on different papers as well. So here I tried it on, this is handmade paper, but again here I saw no effect. I think it is because the handmade paper is very absorbent, and as soon as it was wet with the color, it sort of absorbed it really soon, and the salt did not have time to react. So how you do this effect is you just take your piece of cardstock wherever you want the effect created. You take some water, you wet your surface with water however you want it. Again, it's going to curl a little bit, which is fine. Then you take your watercolors, we'll go with a little green. Let's combine two colors here. Maybe let's do a brown. Now, while the paint is still wet, you just take your salt and sprinkle over it. As soon as you put the salt, you can see how the salt sort of pulls the color towards itself. Then you leave this to dry. Once it's dry, you just use some sort of a brush to wipe away the salt, and this is what it looks like after it has dried. The last idea on our list is creating texture using salt and glue. You can see the kind of effect this created. There are two versions of it. The difference is this is very flat, as you can see. Now what I've done here, but still has some texture. Now what I've done here is I have used my water and glue mixture just like before, spread it over the cardstock and sprinkled the salt, then kept it to dry. But here I used the PVA glue directly without any water mixed in it, and similarly just sprinkle salt over it, and I think this is slightly more raised, slightly thicker texture this has. These would look cool creating, night skies or beaches, and just for adding some interest to your journals. I hope you enjoyed this video and it led to some sort of inspiration for you all to try as well. Let me know in the comments down below if you have tried any of these before, and are there any other ideas that you'd like to share. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. And until we meet again next time, take care. Bye.